This week we are discussing the film House of the Dead, which was universally panned by critics when it was released in 2003. This was German director Uwe Boll's first theatrically released film, and its release ruined his reputation. But somehow, despite being one of the most hated film directors of all time, Uwe Boll continued to make films and was extremely prolific for a decade. I've never really seen someone fail upward more than this guy.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say there's been a couple of actors or directors out there that did that kind of stuff, like the director on the Troll 2 movie or whatever it was.
I don't know what happened with Troll 2, but with House of the Dead, it failed theatrically. It made like $13.8 million on a $12 million budget, but then it made like $40 million on DVD.
Gotcha.
This was back when no matter how shitty the movie was,
right?
No matter how much it failed in theaters, you make a DVD of it, and it's going to make a ton of money because there was just a huge thirst for content.
Well, I'm assuming people at like Walmart and what was it the bins over in front of Best Buy were just picking them up.
Uwe Boll's films are definitely made for the Walmart bargain bin.
From the world's most notorious director,
my movies are financed with Nazi gold,
comes a movie so disgusting, so offensive.
Well, what are you gonna fire me for saying? Well, you.
So stupid.
You know me and spelling and all.
That it will push you over the edge.
Sorry.
What's the matter with you? What the hell is wrong with you people? Oh, jihad! Yeah!
For whatever reason, Uwe Boll was able to keep directing movies. He did House of the Dead, he did Blood Rain, Alone in the Dark, In the Name of the King, Blood Rain 2, etc., etc. And a big factor, apparently, in Uwe Boll's career may have been his ability to take advantage of a German tax loophole, allowed German investors to basically launder money through Hollywood productions. So these German investors could just take their money, funnel it into a Hollywood production, and if the production used a German crew, they could basically use it as like a money laundering scam.
Yeah.
And this tax loophole, it went away after a couple years, and that is basically why Uwe Boll's career disintegrated.
Yeah. Well, he found his his loophole, and got his movies made that he wanted to make. And honestly, I think he was on I would say like an era where they were making a lot of video games into movies, and like one.
Also, this is key. This is before video game movies became like really viable. This is when they were still kind of a joke. This is like after Super Mario Brothers and Street Fighter.
Hey, don't bag on that. I love Super Mario. Even though I know it's like 4 out of 10.
It was a huge failure.
Oh, yeah.
After Super Mario Brothers, Hollywood didn't really want to touch video game movies for a minute. Now video game movies are completely viable. There's Super Mario Brothers, the animated movie did good. Sonic
Max
did
Payne,
good.
I loved.
There's a lot of them now, but when Uwe Boll was doing it, they were still kind of disrespected.
Yeah.
And I think part of the scam was like, go in, grab this license that has name cachet, but Hollywood doesn't really care about.
Right.
So you could grab these things like House of the Dead or Blood Rain, and then run this kind of like tax scam on them.
Yeah.
So just kind of like a unique moment in popular culture.
I'm Uwe Boll. I make movies.
For whatever reason that Uwe Boll was able to keep making these movies, it left him with the reputation of being one of the worst film directors of the decade. And he also had a notably contentious relationship with his critics, to the point where it almost feels like it's performance art. Because Uwe Boll challenged a bunch of movie bloggers, as well as Quentin Tarantino and Roger Avery, to fight him in a boxing match.
Oh, man.
And I'm not exactly sure why Tarantino and Avery were included on this, but he did end up fighting 5 movie bloggers in a sanctioned boxing match, and he beat them all.
Oh, wow. Well, at least he was able to beat them.
Yeah, I guess so.
Stuck to his guns.
I mean, that is kind of hilarious. The idea of like a movie director fighting his negative critics, but beating up a movie critic doesn't make your movie good.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, unfortunately, it's just not the critics that's going to be, rating this stuff. It's going to be audience, too. And if audience are not liking this thing, then that's, the word has been spoken.
Yeah. But I mean, for whatever reason, he continued making movies. He probably had theatrically released movies for like 10 years. And then eventually by like, or maybe less, maybe it was more like 7 or 8 years, by like 2010, 2011, he was making, and then he transitioned from doing like, he was doing these video game adaptations.
Yeah.
And he made this adaptation of this film Postal, which is about somebody like going on a killing spree, I think. And the movie that he made for Postal is it's kind of considered his best film, and it's way out there. Like, it opens with a scene of like the 9/11 hijackers.
Yeah.
It's like very like dark, almost like edgelordy comedy, and that's kind of what he leaned into towards the later half of his career. He made like a movie about like Auschwitz.
Yeah.
He would make
jeez.
like really kind of cringy, offensive stuff. And now he just doesn't make movies anymore. He can't get them. He can't even kickstart a movie successfully anymore.
Well, yeah, you know, like I said, you have to have an audience in order to get funded.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then if you don't have an audience, you're not going to get anything.
An active audience, not an audience of like people who just happen to watch this movie because it was at Blockbuster or whatever. However, people used to kind of sneak by the industry back in the day because there was such a thirst for content.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's like the opposite. There is so much fucking content.
Yeah.
Nobody has time to watch any of it. So when I first started watching House of the Dead, for like the first 20 minutes, I was convinced this movie was purposely bad in a way that was meant to like emulate the awkwardness of a late 90s, early 2000s video game cutscene.
Right.
I'd almost convinced myself this movie was like working on like a whole other level.
Wow, you get a load of that.
What the hell is it?
Looks like it was built a millennia ago.
Simon, it's centuries.
Right, well, that's what I meant.
If this movie does accomplish anything, it is that at times it feels like you're playing, like you're watching like a cutscene from the arcade game.
Yeah.
Because cutscenes in video games are so awkward and flat. And the actors in this movie are so awkward and flat. And even the way the movie's shot, there's like a scene where they're like walking down the hallway and like zombies just keep jumping out in front of them.
Yeah.
So they can like conveniently shoot them.
Oh, yeah.
And it feels literally like you're playing a House of the Dead video game. I'm going to give House of the Dead 1 star. It is like definitely a step above being completely low effort garbage. It has like a couple of like artistic flourishes. But the writing's bad, the direction's bad, the way it's lit is bad, the way it's shot is bad, the editing is sloppy.
Oh, yeah.
It's full of cliches. It's hard to believe that this movie wasn't like straight to video.
Yeah.
To understand that this actually played in movie theaters in 2003, and that like some poor teenage girl had to sit through this fucking thing because her boyfriend played the video game like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
It's kind of ridiculous.
Well, even then, I just wonder how Sega actually feels about this movie. If like they were just like, "Wow, this is a bomb for us."
They licensed it.
Yeah, they licensed it, but like you know, were they happy about it? That's the main thing.
Do you want to give the movie a rating out of 5, Jonathan, and let the audience know if you would recommend watching this?
Well, I saw that it was on IMDb 2 out of 10, and
Okay.
I have to agree it's 2 out of 10. And I'm like, it's nice, you know. I used to love the video game. I thought it was you know, not really entertaining, but it's just funny to make fun of it. So it's like all your friends come over and you know do like a Mystery Science Theater 3000 with this thing, and I'm like, this is what it's meant for. But I'm like, you know, for me to go and I'm like, I'm gonna buy this in a bin? Absolutely not. I would try to stir people away from it, but
there's a couple things the director does right. For example, within the first 10 minutes, a woman strips down to her underwear, and
I was gonna say that's the typical formula of horror movies. Like, I saw a couple of nudes in there, and I was like, well, I guess that's what they have to sell.
Well, then they do a scene where like she goes skinny dipping in her G-string, and they shoot it with like underwater camera housing, so the camera is like eye level with her breasts.
Oh yeah.
So when she's skinny dipping, you get to see her nude. These are like it or not, these are directorial flourishes.
Yeah.
This is the type of exploitation that we like.
Yeah.
If I'd owned this movie when I was 14, I probably would have watched it a lot. Well, after the completely unnecessary skinny dipping scene, the woman puts her clothes back on and follows her boyfriend to this like old house.
Right.
And she finds him like inside the house being ripped apart, but like there's something so off about the direction and the way they shoot this scene. Like she like walks into the house and he's like standing there with a zombie's hand in him.
Yeah.
And the hand finishes going through.
Yeah.
It's like, why is he just standing there with a hand in his back waiting for her
exactly
to come into the house? It's just mind-boggling that
Yeah.
Uwe Boll got into a position, at least for a few years, where he was able to like shoot theatrically released films. First of all, it's crazy that like Clint Howard is in this movie, and then around the same time, Ron Howard is making A Beautiful Mind.
Yeah.
It's like what a bizarre Hollywood family.
Yeah, well, I was even laughing when the captain later on was I guess like he disappears and they're looking for him, and then he has like a fully assault rifle, and I'm like, that guy just owns that thing.
Well, the college kids are trying to get to this rave, and when the movie cuts to the actual rave, it's fucking hilarious. There's like 12 people there.
Yeah.
There's like 2 women on stage in leotards like dancing, and there's like a 5x7 foot Sega banner.
Yeah.
Like that's the production value for the big rave on the island.
Yep.
It's a real like Fire Fest. Just like really underproduced music festival. Best scene in this entire movie is probably the one scene where they like massacre the zombies. It's like a big montage of them kind of shooting zombies. And it's entertaining enough, it's fun enough, but like the rules of guns are just completely out the window. Like a shotgun is shooting way too much. Yeah. And like the black, like there's no recoil on any of the guns. It's some of the laziest like gun filmmaking I've ever seen. And also that I guess she's, I don't know what she is, some sort of cop. The chick who shows up, Casper, who is honestly like one of the worst. All the acting in this movie is bad. But the woman who plays Casper is so awful. It's mind-boggling. She got a lead role in a movie.
Look, I don't know what's going on here, okay? What I do know is that I've got to get you all off this island. How did you get here?
She shows up. She shoots the girl who turns into a zombie with her shotgun. Oh, yeah. And then to finish her off, she just pulls another gun and shoots her with a different gun. It's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Well, even then, it was like one of the characters I had a really couldn't stop laughing when I see her is the girl Liberty.
Which one was Liberty? Is that the one in the American flag leotard?
Yeah. That's why I was like laughing. I was like, well, that's some Liberty right there.
These characters are like so inept, they can't do shit. And then when we get to this big like zombie shootout massacre scene, they're all just fighting like Neo from the Matrix. Yeah. They're all suddenly like jumping in the air and doing backflips. In this movie, they must have had like a 360 camera rig that they were trying to like get the most bang for the buck out of. Yeah. Because they keep doing these like Matrix spin around camera shots and they don't fit at all. Right. I guess it's, it's a visual thing. Yeah. At least something's happening.
Well, even then, the one thing that I thought was like, it's cheesy, but they're taking it from the video game, was like when people would die and then they would have the person's character and they would do a spin 360 of that person just like, what was it? Just floating there. Yeah. And I was just all like, oh man. I'm like, it would have been better if it showed them like being, brutally killed, but of course I guess they're trying to sell as much as they can from the video game stance.
At least that scene is kind of fun. It's probably is like the high point of the entire film, except for the little bit of nudity that you get. Yeah. Oh, by the way, you can watch House of the Dead free on Tubi. Like a lot of video games in the 80s and 90s, House of the Dead is just a ripoff of movies. It's just a ripoff of George Romero movies. Oh, yeah. So you get into this weird feedback loop. And we've talked about this on the podcast before with like Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat is like based off of the movie Bloodsport. Yeah. And then they make a movie based off of a video game that's based off of a movie. And it's like this weird kind of repetition where like none of this is original. Yeah. You don't really need to make movie adaptations out of a video game that's already fucking a ripoff of a movie. Right. It's such a weird thing. So yeah. So you could look at it like, oh, they ruined this great IP, but did they really? It was a stupid IP that was a ripoff of something that already existed. I didn't watch this until recently, but I do distinctively remember the marketing for it, and like this could have got me. I could have very easily have spent a Friday evening watching House of the Dead when I was 15. Yeah. And luckily, I avoided that fate until now. I guess that's it. I don't have much more to say about House of the Dead.
No. House of the Dead, I am done with it. It's dead in my memory.
It would have been really funny if the movie bloggers beat the shit out of Uwe Boll.
Well, he could probably have a Royal Rumble one day.
It was like a 5-on-1.
Yeah.
He's not that bold, but
no. But at least he tried to, stick to his guns.
It is actually a great marketing tactic.
Yeah.
Like to sell your movie, fight the critics.
It's like, what was it? What's that one new boxer that does all that stuff?
Oh, I don't know.
What was it? What's his name? The guy who fought Mike Tyson right now.
Oh, Logan Paul, Jake Paul.
Jake Paul, man, it's the same scenario, man. It was just like they hyped it up, made so much money by people watching it, and then like later on they found out this is a stage fight, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Mike Tyson's sitting there laughing. He's like, I know I was a legend back in the day, but he's like, I made
just taking that check.
Yeah, pretty good paycheck, and he goes, and this is for my retirement.
Okay, I love you. 我去想念你，請你莫逃避，維護你，原諒你，拋開貪生怕死，一切為咗你。